Okay, I think we should get started. If anyone comes in after we've begun, I don't think it'll be too hard for them to catch up. We're also recording the session, so we can certainly share that after the fact. So thank you all so much for joining me today. For anyone who doesn't know me, my name is Jeff Bruner. I work on the cooperative purchasing service here at WiLS, primarily working with our academic library members like yourselves. The goal of today's meeting is to explain the upcoming changes to WiLS academic library cooperative purchasing and to give you a chance to give us some feedback about it and ask any questions that you might have. So I'll start off with an overview of what we're going to be doing, and then there will be time to get those feedback and questions at the end. Feel free to put any questions or comments into the chat box. I'm not going to be watching that while I'm talking, but my colleague Rebecca will be keeping an eye on that as well, and we'll kind of do a roundup of questions towards the end of today's talk. I don't have an hour worth of content. I actually have it's not a lot, so there will be plenty of time for questions, but we'll still probably get out of here before noon. So our goal for WiLS Academic Library Cooperative Purchasing is for every participating member to pay a single annual fee to be a part of the program. There will be no fee added to each subscription, no percentage add-on the way the program works now. Members should be able to take advantage of as many WiLS groups and deals as you'd like, but only ever pay us that one fee per year. Other than that, you'd only pay the vendor's charges. So as the program works now, the vendor charges us a fee, we add a percentage to that and then charge the member. In addition, there's an annual fee of $199 that every library pays. We'll be replacing all of that with a single fee paid to WiLS every year. We're going to continue to negotiate for the best prices possible, but we're going to pass the entirety of those savings on to the member rather than taking a part of the savings for WiLS. So why are we doing this? We've been talking about this for quite a while. I last met with you about this topic last May, which seems like a lifetime ago now, I'm sure, for everyone. But first and foremost, this is about our values, and a discussion of how the service interacts with our values is really what sort of started the ball rolling on this topic. WiLS is a mission and values-driven organization. Every decision, every business practice is measured against our institutional values. And the practice of adding a percentage fee on top of what vendors charge isn't in line with those values any longer. While our vendors offer great products, they're almost all for-profit organizations, and WiLS is not. Our motivation is not profit, but rather our mission to save members time and money. The second reason is related to the first. We feel strongly that tying our fees to the prices set by vendors results in too much variation in what our members end up paying us. It's hard to predict what those fees will be, and it can be difficult to reconcile all of the various fees with the service that you get from us. And so we want what you pay WiLS to be a clear, consistent value. Finally, on a practical level, the current model simply isn't sustainable. We believe pretty strongly that the business practices employed by many companies in the scholarly publication industry are not sustainable in the long term. I don't have to tell you that the rising subscription fees and flat or shrinking budgets make it harder every year for our members to afford the resources that their patrons need. And even in the context of the growth of open access publishing and transformative agreements, continuing to tie ourselves to such a system just doesn't make sense in the long term. We think it's even more true now than it was when I talked to you about this last year at the beginning of the pandemic. The things that we've seen over these months show us that it is time to change how we work with you to make sure that you're getting the best possible value from us. So let's get into the details of what's changing. Beginning in July of 2021, every member library will pay a single annual membership fee. Our hope was that every WiLS member would be able to pay the same or less in that one fee than they pay in total now. We weren't able to craft a model that saved every member money, but 80% of academic libraries who work with WiLS will end up paying less than they did, less in the upcoming year than they did last year. And because every member will pay a single participation fee, there will be no per subscription fees tacked onto anything that you buy from WiLS, whether that's new or renewal. Rather, each transaction will count towards your institution's overall usage of the service, which is a factor in setting that annual fee. We're also offering to send you a single yearly invoice for everything that you get through WiLS, including your WiLS fee. And that could save a lot of time in processing and dealing with multiple invoices. So under the new model that we're going to be moving to, every member's WiLS fee will be calculated using two components: a base fee, which is determined by the size of the institution, and a usage fee, which is calculated based on the previous year's usage of the service. The first component of your annual fee is the base fee. That's determined by the size of the institution according to the table here on the screen. It's a fairly simple, basic FTE table, the kind of thing that you're used to seeing buying library resources. So this is the first component of what the annual fee is to WiLS. The second component of the annual fee is the usage fee. So this is calculated by taking an average of the number of transactions over the previous 2 years that a library has had with WiLS. So then we multiply that number of subscriptions or transactions by $99 for 2-year colleges or $149 for 4-year schools. We're using kind of a rolling 2-year average to determine the number of subscriptions, because some subscriptions or some products are multiple years, where you might pay in 1 year but have access for multiple years. So that creates some kind of fluctuation, and a lot of that is smoothed over by saying, okay, over the previous 2 years, how many subscriptions did this library get through WiLS? That is the number we'll use to calculate the usage fee. So the more a library uses the service, the more they'll pay, but that charge is going to be based on a predictable structure that we control, rather on the less predictable fees charged by vendors. So we take the base fee, which is calculated based on your institutional size, add it to the usage fee, which is generated by how much you use the service, and that gives us your library's annual WiLS fee. So this fee, as I said, is going to replace the $199 WiLS membership fee and the percentage that gets tacked onto every subscription. Now, all those fees will go away, and there'll be a single fee every year that you'll pay. So I have 2 examples of how this works. The first example is a 4-year university. The names aren't here, but these are real numbers from a real institution. This library paid WiLS $5,470 in WiLS fees. That includes their $199 and all their percentage add-ons. So in 2020, their total payment to WiLS, not the amount that went to the vendors, but what WiLS kept, was $5,470. This institution has an FTE of 1,500. So under the new system, their base fee would be $300. They also, over the last 2 fiscal years, had an average of 15 subscriptions. And since they're a 4-year university, we take 15 times $149, and that gives us a usage fee of $2,235. So when we add the base fee of $300 to the usage fee of $2,235, we get a total fee for that library of $2,535, which actually is going to save that library almost $3,000. So they'll pay about $3,000 less this upcoming fiscal year than they did last year. And that's for all the same products. So the other example I have is a 2-year college. This is another these numbers are real again. This institution paid us $2,609 last year. With an FTE of 5,300, their base fee is $400. With an average of 14 subscriptions over that 2-year period, their usage fee is $1,386. So the total fee to WiLS this next year will be $1,786, which is saving that library $823. So the outcomes we're looking for. In addition to better reflecting our values, which is genuinely the driving force behind this, and it's the most important factor in crafting this and implementing this change, the new program is also going to have some additional benefits for members. First of all, predictability. Our full service fee for each library will be known well in advance of the next time it's due, the next time it renews. And it's not going to be subject to any kind of annual dramatic fluctuation. You're already going to know what you're going to be paying WiLS every year. In fact, shortly after the start of a fiscal year, we'll be able to look back at the previous 2 fiscal years and immediately generate the following fiscal year's member fees. So you're going to know almost a year in advance what your participation fee will be for the next fiscal year. So what I mean by that is, like, this upcoming July, once we close the current fiscal year, we can look at this fiscal year and last fiscal year to generate the fee for next fiscal year, which won't be due until July of 22. So there's going to be the ability to kind of plan for that quite a bit in advance and use that for budgeting purposes. And then if an institution, unless you're significantly increasing or decreasing the usage of the service, that WiLS fee should be fairly stable year after year. You know, the base fee wouldn't change because unless the institution changes a lot, and the usage fee wouldn't change unless you're using a lot more or a lot less. You know, it might go up by 99 or 149 if you add something. But unless an institution is making big changes to how they use the WiLS service, the overall fee that you pay should be pretty consistent or close year after year. And again, and I know I've said this a couple of times, but it's the most important thing to me, like, this fee is completely decoupled from the vendor's costs. So if a vendor increases their costs, that's not going to reflect how much you pay WiLS. It'll have no bearing on our fee to you at all. Okay. Oh, also, as I mentioned at the top, you know, on the kind of category of predictability, we will be happy to come up with an invoicing method or routine that works well for your institution. So one of the things that we're hoping to be able to do for those libraries that want it is to give you one invoice that covers everything you do with WiLS for the whole year. I mean, if you know that last fiscal year you bought these, 5 products, we can figure out what that price should be for the next fiscal year and just send you one invoice with that, plus your WiLS membership fee, to kind of cut down on the work and kind of unpredictability as well. But that's based on what each institution needs. We're certainly not making anyone do that. It's just something we want to offer as well. So the next bullet point here is the one that I think the people on this call will probably be the most excited about, and that's the cost savings. I already showed a couple of examples of that. As I mentioned, not every library will pay less this year than they did last year, but 80% of the WiLS academic members will. Most of those savings are pretty substantial too. The average savings for a library that pays less is over $900 per year. And in fact, this new program actually is expected to result in a 30% reduction in revenue collected from our academic members. And that's about $47,000 that we're not going to be collecting from you this next fiscal year. We want you to have that money. And finally, another outcome that I'm expecting is that if members have more money to spend, some hopefully will spend those on other resources that can be gotten through WiLS. And that gives us more leverage to negotiate bigger discounts and better terms with our vendor partners. Our revenue from academic libraries is going to rise and fall based on how much you use the service. And that's a built-in incentive to make the service the best deal possible. It's going to reinforce our existing work to find great products that your users are going to love and to negotiate the best price to make those products affordable to the most members. So we're really excited about this change. It's a big step forward in how we work with academic libraries, and we really think it's going to improve the service. And actually, that's everything I had prepared to present today. That's the overview of the upcoming changes to the service. Each library is going to be receiving a specific email that lays out the actual numbers for your institution so that you know what to expect this upcoming fiscal year. But really what else we wanted to do today was give you a chance to hear about the changes, give us feedback if you've got concerns or input that you want to give. And if you have questions, I wanted to make myself available to answer those. So at this point, I'm going to stop talking for a few minutes, or at least long enough to see if there's any questions and try to answer those. Okay, yep, there's a question here in the chat. If we were going to go with an annual invoice, when would that be due? Beginning of the fiscal year, or could we set a date when it would work better for our institutions? For example, we have a couple subscriptions that start July 1, but the institution doesn't have money coming until fall deposits. That's a really great question. Yeah, we can do the same kind of invoice kind of date shifting that we do now. So if a library wants to get one invoice for their whole year, we can figure out when the right time to invoice you for that will be, and just do it then. And that's actually also true for any given subscription. If a subscription starts on July 1, but because of how your institutional budget works, you won't actually have money to pay that invoice until later in the fall, we can always push those invoices out. And that'll also be true of your WiLS membership fee or any other invoice through WiLS, including if we do one big combined invoice or a couple of combined invoices for you. We can always figure out a date that works. Now, that's not unlimited. I mean, I can't push it out multiple years, but I think we can almost always find an invoice date that works well for any given institution. Okay, I see something in the Q&A tab. It says, sorry if this was already explained, but the number of subscriptions component is a one-year average based on the past 2 years, not the total number of subscriptions for the past 2 years, correct? And yes, that is correct. So if a library had 10 subscriptions in 1 year and 12 subscriptions in the other year, then their fee would be based on that average of 11. So we'll take 2 years, find the average number, and use that as our multiplier. Oh, here's a fun question from Pete in the chat. What does WiLS do for money if you're giving it all back to us? Well, that's a complex question. For those of you who are kind of dialed into WiLS, who maybe are paying attention to annual reports or fiscal reports, WiLS has been running a budget surplus for several years in a row, and we use a lot of that surplus to give back to the members in a variety of ways. The kind of scholarships to attend conferences, some of the other kind of free services that we offer, like the WiLS World Shorts, Ideas to Action, that program where we're kind of giving grants to members to kind of try and kickstart programs that are doing it. And we love doing that kind of stuff. But the truth is, a lot of that surplus, most of that surplus, comes from the cooperative purchasing service, and a big part of that comes from the academic libraries. And so that mismatch between how the industry as a whole works and how we where we are positioned in the kind of library ecosystem just isn't tenable anymore. So for part of that, part of the answer to your question is we're just going to have a smaller surplus. You know, rather than collecting a lot more money than we need to run the business and then using the surplus on other services, some of that surplus is just going to shrink because we're going to be wanting our members to just keep more of their own money. The other side of that question, or the other kind of component of where, you know, how do we pay the bills if we're not collecting as much in co-op? There's a couple of components to that. Last year when I first talked about what we were looking at for the future of the service, I talked at some length about kind of our the credit card that we use to pay our bills. So as a nonprofit, WiLS can take advantage of some fairly advantageous, like, cashback options with the bank that we have our kind of corporate credit card through. So a lot of the invoices that we pay on your behalf, WiLS is actually getting, like, kind of a small percentage kickback from the bank. Now that's not a huge amount of money, but it does go some way to closing the gap between what we've made in previous years and what we'll be making under the new program. And that's also another reason why we want to make sure that you're incentivized to use the service as much as you can. Even if you're buying something directly from a vendor now, if we can handle that subscription through WiLS, even if the vendor won't give us a discount, because as you know, sometimes they won't give a discount on existing business. But since we're not adding a fee to it anymore, if we can take a subscription that you're already paying for, charge you the same amount for it, and then pay that bill with a credit card, that's a little bit more money in the bank as well. And I guess that gets to the last thing I'm going to say about kind of closing that fiscal gap, which is volume. I mean, we feel like we offer a really great service. We feel like as we continue to expand and deepen the relationships we have with some of these vendors, we can get more and better deals. And hopefully that will make it easier and easier for members to buy more things. And as I said, I mean, we're not charging you nothing. I mean, if you find 5 or 10 more resources that you want to buy through WiLS, I mean, those will all kind of go towards your usage component of the service. So, you know, you will pay more if you use the service more, but you're getting more for it. So I think that kind of cycle of making the service more affordable, getting better prices from vendors on more products, which will increase the usage, and hopefully that'll help kind of close that gap as well. But the truth of the matter is, it's just time for us to charge less for this service for our academic libraries, because we think that you already pay too much for most things anyway. I don't know, that was a long-winded answer. I'll talk a lot, certainly about this topic. So hopefully that was a satisfactory answer. I see a message here from Tom in chat saying, when will letters go out to the WiLS members? I'm actually working on that today. So I think if my kind of mail merge tool works the way I think it's going to, that most of the people or libraries in this service should get an email from WiLS Co-op today that summarizes everything I've talked about here, but also has a block that tells you, here's what your fee is going to be, here's what you paid last year, so here's what the difference is. And so hopefully that'll be today. It'll definitely be this week if it's not today. I'm just kind of scrolling back to see if there are any chat messages that I missed. Okay. Okay, I don't see anything else in chat or in the Q&A panel. This is not your only chance to give feedback. We want to hear from you about this, good, bad, or indifferent. What you think about these changes matters to us. This whole change was crafted with board and member input, and so we want to make sure that you have an opportunity to say, hey, have you thought about this? Or, hey, I don't like this about it. We want to know. There still is time. So this change will go into effect at the fiscal year turn, which is July 1st. So there still is time to make some tweaks if there's some glaring omission or something that we hadn't considered that you think we should. Feel free to reach out to me directly. You know, what I should have done is put my email address here on the slide. I'm sorry, I forgot about that. But you can certainly find me on the WiLS website. Feel free to reach out to me directly or to the cooperative purchasing email address, or really anyone at WiLS can get you in touch with somebody that can listen to you and answer your questions. So with that said, I guess all that remains is for me to say thank you for coming. We're excited to be able to do this. We're looking forward to kind of the improvements that this will bring for the service and for our members. And the last thing, I had to promise my colleague Andy Coffin that I would remind anyone here on the call that later this week we're having our annual membership meeting. That's on Friday. More details about that are on the WiLS website as well. So if you've got time, please join us for the annual meeting as well. Okay, so again, thanks for coming. I hope you all have a great rest of the day and a great rest of the week. And yeah, I'll talk to you soon.